So we have our practice test piece. We have our name extruded with an exclamation point revolved. Now let's move on to our bottom piece. We're going to first draw it on paper. Actually, I'm just going to do it. You don't have to do it, but it'll just help us visualize what we're going to do on the computer. And then we're going to move on to the CAD. Okay, so let's make it in Onshape. So we are going to create a new Onshape document. We're going to make our bottom piece. I'm going to start with the easiest. And the first thing we have to do is make a rectangle. In order to do that, we need a sketch. In order to make a sketch, we need to pick what face or plane we're going to do it on. To make things easier in the long run, because eventually we are going to be assembling things, we are going to make everything on this front plane. Okay, that's super important. If you do things on the top plane or the right plane, then things are going to populate differently into an assembly, and it'll be wonky and it'll be harder to follow along if you're doing the video route. So let's make a sketch. Click on the front. I'm going to click on the front face of the view cube, and then I'm going to make a rectangle. I'm going to go through a couple of ways we can do that. We can do it by drawing 4 lines. I like starting from the origin every time. It's just for fun. You don't have to, but it's good practice to keep something solid. And by solid I mean that stays with one dimension. So once I have an enclosed space, meaning I have this circle and square that are orange, I can click on that, it grays out, and now I have a dimensionable shape. We're going to make the rectangle a different way. What if I don't do it on the origin? What if I can't get these two to meet up and it looks funky and it's at an angle? Well, we can fix that by making something horizontal or vertical. So if we want this bottom line to be, if we want this bottom line to be horizontal, we can go to there, click on our bottom line, and it'll straighten it out. Cool. Let's do one more way we can do it with lines. We won't start at the origin again. Let's say I went, maybe too far on this bottom one. And I obviously can't meet up, but I want to go straight. So now we can do an extend and trim, just like we talked about with our practice piece. We can extend this line to that line. Maybe that was weird, a little odd. Try it again. Extend that line to there, and now we have an enclosed space. We now have to trim off our little access line, and now we have a shape. So there's an easier way to make a rectangle, right? We have our rectangle feature, and I'm going to just make a rectangle. Once again, we can dimension it right now, or we can press the escape key on our keyboard and exit out of it, and then we can dimension it another way. So if we have a shape and we don't have any text boxes that indicate the numbers of the lines, the dimensions of the lines, then we can go to this button on our feature bar. That is our dimension. We can either click on 2 parallel lines and set a dimension. We know one of the sides is going to be 5 inches and one of the sides is going to be 5.5. If you are doing this video method, please try to follow along with what I'm doing. I'm going to do 5.5 on this horizontal dimension, 5.5 inches. I can zoom out. Actually, I'm pretty sure there's this zoom to fit window, or zoom to fit, and then that zooms it out for me so that I can see what's going on. We can also dimension again by just using one of the lines that we want to create a dimension for. The other dimension would be 5 inches, so we'll just put 5 in there. We'll zoom to fit, and that is a completely finished 2D aspect to our bottom piece. You'll notice I'm going to do a Control Z. I'm going to undo a couple things, and you'll notice the color of the lines change to blue as dimensions go away. Okay. Now when they're black, that means that they are fully dimensioned, fully constrained to a place. I can click on something, and usually if they're blue, I can start manipulating how this is oriented, where the location is, or what sizes different aspects of our feature are going to be. Now that it is all black, we can move on to our extrusion. So I can finish this sketch by clicking the green check mark, and now I can extrude it. We know that every 1 by piece, so our birdhouse is made out of 1x6 material. That 1 inch dimension is actually for the rough cut, and when it's milled down it becomes 3/4 of an inch. So I can do 3/4 and get an extrude, except I forgot to do something. I forgot to pick a face or sketch with which I'll extrude. I'll change to isometric so that we can see what just happened. We're extruding 0.75 inches, but I typed in 3/4 inches. Okay, so that will automatically do that conversion. With that, our bottom piece is done. We can export as bottom piece as a step file and download it. To our downloads. We'll save that, and then we can turn that in to the canvas assignment area. Let's move on.